Hello, you're listening to the Neil Lamptey Show. My name's Joey, and I'm joined this week by Paul.
Good evening, mate.
And Neil.
Woo!
Yeah, it's a little bit like that, isn't it?
Second, yeah.
Do you know what? It's not even second for me. It's going 1-0 down at a place like Burton and winning.
All very different, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've heard the Presleyism go around over the last day or so of finding a way to win.
Oh yeah,
which I don't know is necessarily appropriate for this game, but it's been out and in force again. What were your moments of the week, Neil? What was you going to start with?
Mine was Vincelot's goal, the 1-incher. Just I like when right is right, and they all got it right in the end. So it was a goal. He was onside, and they gave it to Vincelot, and that's all. I was happy.
I want to break with tradition and quickly bear in mind that it ties in quite neatly and slip my moment of the week in at this point is his reaction to scoring. I don't know what he was trying to say that he hadn't done, that either A, wasn't abundantly clear that he had done, or that I don't even think he knew what he was appealing for. Presumably he thought there must have been an element of offside in it. But if he thought that him holding his hands up would have meant that people wouldn't have seen what he'd have done, it's just beyond me.
It's just the little jab of the foot. It's like the tiniest of stabs. So it's like, shit, I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to try it anyway. And then just retracts it. But it was all good in the end. It was...
And I thought,
got it right.
And I thought at first that I felt like Martin's original shot when I very first saw it wouldn't have had enough on it to get it over the line because a defender would have steamed in. But then as soon as I saw the first replay, you were like, Vincelot, there's no reason for you to do
it's
it
unnecessary,
whatsoever.
Isn't it? But steal it all you like.
Yeah, and you're right to point out that it was correct, and we'll go into why it was correct in a bit, because I'm not even sure that Sky really cleared it up properly for those watching it on Sky, but I'm sure we'll decipher it. Paul, what was your moment of the week?
I'm going to ruin the whole podcast by saying my moment of the week was the first goal that we scored.
What, that Aaron Martin scored, or?
No, yeah, well, we talked about quite a lot over the years about narrative and stuff, and I'm going to come across as a bit disparaging, but I don't really mean it. What I find really interesting about our first goal, the equaliser, is the amount of praise that Marcus Tudgay's got for what is ostensibly a really easy chance, and the lack of credit that Lemares, Murphy and Fleck have got for what was a delightful move, which basically handed Tudgay a one-on-one 10 yards out, shouldn't really miss chance, and the run from Lemares and then the pass from Lemares to Murphy is genius, and it just seems to have been ignored completely, and I feel really sorry for the guy.
That's Sky commentary for you. I mean, I love watching the football without listening to the commentary because the influence that people have on your mindset is crazy. And that co-commentator just mentioned, oh, this is a lot better than you think. And then it's just become now a lot better than everybody thinks. And it's not really. I mean, I'd be bloody livid if he missed it, really.
And for fear of being stood in my glass house with a bag full of stones in my hand, I also noticed earlier that Gary Newbon wrote that thing in that was picked up by the Telegraph, where he described Marcus Tudgay as consistently showing his class for this division. And there was a lot of the punditry that I thought, along with that particular comment, that smacks of just, you've watched one game and all of a sudden you class yourself as some sort of expert who's going off about it. And I don't want to in any way denigrate how Tudgay played in that game, because I thought he was again, if you bear in mind his limitations, I thought he was very, very effective. I thought he did very well. He took his chance well, albeit that it was pretty much the easiest chance that anyone's ever had.
I know, and that's my problem. I don't want to be disparaging against Marcus Tudgay because I thought he had a very good game. And in the past, people know I'm not his biggest fan. And I don't want to take anything away from him. It was a good finish. But for anyone to think the best part of that entire move was Marcus Tudgay's first touch, it's just bewildering. I mean, the good thing is, being Cov fans and actually, you know, if you're away from Sky and you go on Twitter, you know the other Cov fans you think are going to talk sense. And the first tweet that I found which made sense after that goal was someone went, "Great pass by John Fleck," and that was from Sideways Sammy. And it was a great pass. And as I said, Lemares to drag, they basically just went, "Oh, where the defender's gone?" And it's like, well, the centre half followed Lemares, who's made a great run and basically dragged him miles out. And Murphy could have easily cut inside and had a shot. You saw he thought about it, but then realised that Tudgay was in the centre of the goal unmarked. And that was good development from Murphy, I think. A bit worried about him shooting from everywhere. I thought he showed a lot of maturity at that time. Yeah, Tudgay, it was a good first touch and a good finish, and lots of credit to him for getting in the position and scoring the goal. But the move was far superior to the ending.
While we're on the goal, and we're going to go through the 3 goals in some level of detail, albeit in a different order. Can we talk about their defensive shape for a second? Quite possibly the worst back 4 shape I've seen maybe ever. They were stood in a square around Marcus Tudgay without any of them being within a 10-yard radius of him. I couldn't.
Yeah, but as I said, I think,
it was mind-bending, but it wasn't his movement or anything. Like you say, it was a great move, but for a back 4 to have that, for a team that have done as well as Burton have, I think they said that they hadn't scored any conceded any more than 2 goals in a game since Hasselbank took over. That must have been an anomaly, because I thought in general their defending wasn't particularly hot, but that particular moment was astoundingly poor.
As I said, you've got to give credit to Lemaire's who dragged the centre half out, and then Murphy cut inside and took his fullback with him. I think it's...
But does that account for the other 2 of the 4 defenders they had?
Okay. The other 2 defenders didn't particularly cover themselves in glory, but I think that move destroyed half their defence. The other half of the defence, there are question marks over. But I think every so often, you've got to give praise to the movement of our team, and it was quite, considering. We'll go on to the game now. Considering the first half, our front 4 only clicked, I think, twice during the entire first half. That move was just a sign of what we can do when you've got people who can move, pass, and have a bit of vision about them. Works, because the other 44 minutes of that first half, they weren't particularly good, were they? I mean, individually or collectively, our front 4 didn't particularly cover themselves in glory. There was the other chance where we counter-attacked and Tudgay tried to sort of chew that little chip ball for himself to run onto, and the lad handled it.
Yeah.
Why wasn't that a booking?
I have no idea. Crazy.
And that was one of the only other times in the entire first half that our front 4 looked as good as they have done in previous games. I mean, other than that, I thought, there was definitely a period where Burton were on top, wasn't there?
Well, yeah, I thought that for a lot of the first half they were on top. Neil, I'd like to get your opinion on this. I felt like I think I wouldn't necessarily put the onus on the front 4 as to not having clicked. I felt like every opportunity we had to break, it seemed like the instruction was to pull it back and stifle the game and try and pass it around the back 4, because they did that enormously more than I've seen them do this season. Do you think that was more of a sort of a tactical thing, or do you just think that they didn't click because they didn't click?
I think it was a symptom of them not clicking. I think it felt like they took the opportunity, because that first 10 minutes it was manic, and I don't think they weren't clicking at all. I just felt like when the opportunity, there was this one period of play where maybe it was 5 minutes and we pretty much had the ball for all of it, but we didn't really take it out of our own half, and I felt like they took the opportunity to create the illusion that they were playing better football than they probably actually were. So it's that whole sort of sterile possession thing, but it actually had some value in this game because we weren't playing very well. The passes weren't coming off. So they almost took the opportunity to say, well, we've now got the ball. Let's pass it around for a bit. Let's try and frustrate the other team, make them run, try and look for some gaps and go from there. But they didn't sort of move out of that style. They kind of like took the opportunity and thought, well, actually, we'll just play like this for the rest of the match almost. So apart from like obviously in the second half, they took the counter a little bit more. But yeah, it was. I can't imagine that would ever be the style that Mobo would pick. But I just felt like the game dictated to them that they needed to turn that sort of style on for a little bit.
Yeah, I think they had the wide player Duffy that looked very effective, didn't they?
He looked a class above,
Yeah,
I thought. Well, I don't know why they took him off.
But I think I understand what you're saying, but I don't know whether it seemed to happen quite early in the game, and I don't know whether it's entirely possible that he saw the way that the game was panning out and then decided to sort of use that instruction. But it almost looked to me that was the game plan from the off, was to try and, certainly at the start of the game, was to stifle it and kill it. It was actually a testament to to Burton more than anything else, I guess, that the first half was reasonably exciting in face of what I felt was us trying to sort of kill it off a little bit. They, as we've alluded to, they did look particularly decent, especially in the first 15 minutes or so. And I think they probably got their goal after 12, was it?
Something like that.
Or should I say that we got their goal? Paul, have you got, how much? Where do you stand on their goal? Is Martin at fault? Is it a lack of fortune? What would you say?
Well, I think it's one of those. The guys up against Stokes, basically one-on-one. Stokes has decided to not dive in, which is laudable after the way that the lad had to beaten of him most of the game. And I think it was to our detriment that we didn't try and double up on him a bit more. But, we've discussed this in the past. Wingers v fullbacks, you've got to
some you win, some you lose.
expect the winger's going to put it. Yeah, and he put in a decent cross. For me, Martin has to deal with that ball. He can't let it go past him because the guy's sniffing on his shoulder and he sticks out a foot. Top defenders stick out a foot and have an idea where they're going to try and clear it. Defenders at our level stick out a foot and hope to dear God it doesn't end up in the back of the net. He just got unlucky. I think I feel he had to deal with it. He did what he felt best, which was he got his foot in the way of the ball.
Sorry, Paul. I was watching the replay of it again, and yeah, it's bloody awful. He just sticks it, hits him on the upper shin, and then he just crouches over for 5 seconds and just looks like he's just conceded like the winning goal of the FA Cup final or something. But really bad.
But I think, as I said, if he leaves it and the guy touched it behind him, he gets slagged off for leaving it. He's tried to deal with it. It hasn't worked. A bit like the Phillips thing from last week. I think it's just one of those. What I was a bit disappointed about, as you say, he was crouching. No one went over to him and picked him up and went, "Don't worry about it."
Until Burge did, but
considering how, and it's. I know we've got this sort of we were warriors and we were all a band and all this. I think that slightly concerned me. It didn't seem to matter because we went on to win the game. The other one was Birch, and I know a lot of people have made a lot of comments about the fact he came and dropped virtually everything. The thing that got me was after about an hour, why didn't Ricketts just go to him and just say,
stop coming out?
Yeah. For the next half an hour, just stay on your line. We'll deal with everything else because Martin and Raider Johnson won most of the aerial challenges. You just stay on your line and we'll deal with it.
But that's a fundamental style change. That's a big change for him to make. I guess if instinctually he's going out for stuff, how do you suppress that?
Well,
and actually, my worry would be in a situation like that. And I think it's possible that, so I don't know Lee Burge at all, but my fear would be with if you instinctually are a goalkeeper that comes out in a way that Westwood totally wasn't, if you then try and suppress that, how often do you get caught in no man's land because you start to go out and then you think, shit, I'm supposed to be back on my line and you're already halfway there?
That's a fair comment. I think he was coming like he wasn't like he was coming 5 or 6. He was coming like to the edge of the area, wasn't he?
Yeah, it looked like we put Raider Johnson in goal.
Yeah,
I will catch a ball.
Yeah. I think that's what it was, wasn't it? I think after the second one he was like, "Fuck it, I've got to catch one at least."
I'll show them.
Yeah, and I think it is. We've discussed this in the past about young players trying to rectify their mistakes. I thought that he was trying to show what sort of goalkeeper he was. And the thing is, which a lot of people seem to have missed, is he made a cracking save in the second half.
He did make one excellent save in the second half, yeah.
And it's like, he made some mistakes. Fortunately, in this game, they didn't lead to a goal. But the thing that he really had to do to stop the goal, he did. So I think as much as we can put that down to maybe in the future, he'll learn from that and maybe not to be quite as gung-ho as he was. But, just feel like sometimes certain players seem to be over-criticised, other people don't. I thought he had a iffy game in goal, but at the end of the day, it didn't cost us. Let's hope he develops from that.
And I think in the interests of fairness, because I think he's not everyone's favourite Cov player. I think some people still see him as the weak link, and we've been quite defensive about him. He was wank.
Oh yeah,
he had a really terrible game by that one save. But I just think it's just one game, isn't it? And ultimately we won the game. It's not like it cost us in the end. And we should be thankful that the defence was able to clean up, especially after I think it was the third one in the second half where it was really chaotic, weren't it? But we got away with it, and I think it's a learning curve for him.
And that's the thing, isn't it? I think all football fans seem to want the same thing. They want kids from their own academy to come through and develop. And it's more difficult being a goalkeeper because every mistake can lead to a goal. If you're in any position on the pitch, you can make a massive fuck up and no one seems to, you can almost get away with it. Goalkeeper, if you make a mistake and it results in a goal, everyone's pointing the finger. And I think, he might have these games. Every player we've ever seen has had these games where you think, oh, God. But as I said, it didn't seem to cost us. And at the other end, you had Marcus Tudgay, who I think we all agree had his best game for us.
Yeah, very
definitely.
Good. Neil, talk us... sorry, go on.
No, I think, as you say, so I think at times we've been a bit defensive of Bresh. I think we all have to accept he didn't have a particularly good game. I think we've all been a bit disparaging of Marcus Tudgay, and he had a really good game. I think that's the way it should pan out, shouldn't it? You give praise where it's due.
Equally, if we're talking about praise and criticism of those two players, beard-wise, both are thumbs down as far as I was concerned. It was a really, really poor show.
It's a weak effort, isn't it?
Yeah, Tudgay especially, who was like a man, do you know what I mean? I mean, Burge is maybe, 21? All right, maybe we can get away with it, but Tudgay needs to know better. It's just that's not acceptable.
I can't really talk. You haven't seen my beard.
The problem with blonde beards as well, unless it's a full-on sort of Gandalf beard.
Oh, you're not going to look in, are you?
No.
And I think and this is admittedly something that I've only just thought of now, but as a business idea, I don't even think someone like Tudgay, why not wear some sort of like beard cape around your face while you're growing it so that it doesn't have to be seen? Because if that's what he's doing, because it doesn't just grow overnight, obviously, but he shouldn't be seen out in public with that because it looks like he's falling out with his boy.
You trying to sell burkas for men?
Beardkers, I think they're yeah. Like I said, it's just another great idea that I had off the top of my head, but that's that. On to more reasonable footballing matters. Neil, you mentioned at the start that you felt, and as do I, that the third goal absolutely fine. Do you want to explain why?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where, on the face of it, you think, shit, they can't give that because it looks so offside. But good old replay showed us that, he was Vincelot when the ball hit Martin and was going towards goal. When the ball hit him, Vincelot was level or behind Martin, which means he's not offside. So, yeah, as scared as he looked to actually touch the ball, didn't matter. He smashed it in the net for all I care. You were onside, it's fine. And to be honest, I think the fact that he didn't go for it or pretended not to go for it, it kind of helped us. So I reckon if he'd gone flying in, slamming it in the line, I might have thought differently. I just had visions of, do you remember that Cardiff game a few years back where we'd scored a goal and then 2 minutes later, the ref, after consultation and everything, decided to cancel it?
I thought he had cancelled it.
Yeah, well, because you're watching it, all you heard was a big cheer.
That's right, yeah.
The big cheer, you think, the home fans, obviously, but it was us. We made more noise than them. So my dad was punching the ceiling and everything. And I was like, hang on, that sounds like we've scored it. And, they got it right. It was a perfectly good goal. Well, good is a strong word. It was a perfectly good goal. It went in and it was fair. So good on them.
How important is it that we look like we're dangerous at set pieces for the first time in 10 years?
It's an option, isn't it? I mean, the problem we've had for a long time is that we've always sort of been reliant on one element of our game. And it's nice to know that even though we do look good with the football and we can create chances, when maybe the football's not going for you, you always have the option from set pieces. And I like the variation from set pieces as well. I mean, it's not the same old near post dink now. They are going short. They are trying things that are a little bit different. And that's crucial as well, because if you're going to do the same thing over and over again, after a while, people will begin to figure it out and they'll be able to plan for it. So the fact that we're not doing the same thing over and over again, we're getting Jacob Murphy one-on-one with players from corners and stuff like that. It's great. It means that nobody can predict us, and we're coming up with some really good set pieces. I mean, there's still some shocking ones. There's one there's one corner which pretty much bounced straight out for a throw-in, which was appalling. But that happens sometimes. The fact that we've got Reilly Johnson in there who's 7'4", that's useful.
Very useful. The one that stuck out for me in terms of disappointing corners was the people I was watching it with, is I was saying, it's really good that we've got options now so that when we take a corner and we lump it in, and then as I said that, they took it short, and you just thought, how long you waited for now? And I don't like short corners at the best of times anyway, but when you've got Johnson in the box, don't take short corners.
I don't know.
Well, really? You're a short corner fan?
I reckon it's worth a go when you've got players like, I mean, we scored from a short corner at Walsall. It's just every now and again. Like you say, like when you need a goal, drop it on Reeder's head and stuff like that. But occasionally throw in a short corner. Got no problem with that.
See, I don't think it's even necessarily drop it on Reeder's head. I would be dropping it on someone else's head and let Reeder cause the carnage that he caused.
yeah.
I think he should be trying to score off any rebound that comes in.
Like he did,
The main thing for me is that he takes 3 players out every time we have a corner. Yeah. Sorry, Paul, go on.
But the funny thing is, isn't it? Their goalkeeper's come out and admitted he completely flapped at the corner. If he'd have caught it, it wouldn't have been a good corner. It'd have just been a set piece that ended up in the keeper's hands. I mean, it's all the luck of the draw, isn't it? When you put the ball into the box, the keeper came for it. He flapped like a big girl's blouse. The ball happened to hit Martin and roll towards the goal. The ball could have hit Martin and rolled anywhere. It's just, it was a great goal in terms of it won us the game. But it wasn't a great set piece. It was just, this is what happens when you throw the ball into the box every so often. In the same way that Burge got lucky with what happened when the ball came in and he flapped at it. In completely the alternative is their goalkeeper came, he flapped, and the ball ended up in the back of the net. And I think sometimes the best corner I saw recently was the one from where Sam Ricketts flicked it in, because it was a bit more like Gary McAllister to Dion Dublin, where it was the movement from Sam Ricketts was brilliant. The ball's in the right spot. He's flicked it. I don't understand why I don't do that more often, because I think that's very difficult to defend against, and it's very difficult for the goalkeeper to deal with. But the only thing we could probably say about the Burton game is, other than that and Marcus Tudgay's attempted chip at the end, did we create? I mean, we didn't really create that many chances, did we? And it's all in. It doesn't matter. We won 2-1. Who cares? But it is a case of, maybe at times we don't create, especially in the second half when we were on the counter-attack. We seem to have quite a few good opportunities, but didn't really make the best use of them.
With all due respect, we were at Burton, who have been fantastic.
No, but I think there were times in the second half where we were sort of 2-on-2 or 3-on-3, and we weren't making. And it seemed sort of. I didn't think Murphy had a particularly good game. I don't think he had a particularly bad game. I thought there were long spells where he wasn't involved at all, and then there were other spells where he drove forward well with possession. But I know it's always difficult because you're watching it, and other things are sort of, especially in my house when I was watching it, there were other things going on. So at times you're just getting slightly distracted. But for me, sort of Murphy had sort of a 6 where he was sort of effective, but for about 20 minutes you didn't see him at all, and that's not having a go at Murphy as such. It's just a case of within our system we didn't play at our best, and we won, which is something we haven't done for a long time. And there were certain players like Vincelot who deserve beyond the amount of credit I could be asked to give him. I think the guy's come in and been an absolute Bresh of
Freath.
Yeah, that's the one. And we've been talking about, we've needed that sort of player for years, and I think he has been absolutely brilliant. And I think he's brought the best out of John Fleck, who again is sort of showing the quality that frustrated me so much last season. The fact that it's there, why the fuck isn't he doing it? And it's that partnership was brilliant. And when you've got a unit like that, which is working so well, you can afford to have other players who aren't on top of their game, because you've got that stability in the centre of the pitch.
On that, on Twitter, I did my ratings earlier for the players. Vincelot, I was like you. I gave Vincelot a good mark. I was fairly, just default with Martin. I thought he had an okay game. Criticised Burge a little bit, and Stokes, who we haven't spoken much about, but I didn't think he played as well as some people. Someone on Twitter said very generous with Vincelot and Martin, harsh on Burge and Stokes. Thoughts?
Well, can I jump in on Vincelot just quickly? I thought for the first half an hour he looked like he was hungover to me. I think if you look at his, and not that Vincelot, not that I would ever go back and do this. I think if you looked at his ball retention statistics for the first half an hour, they would be woeful. I think he consistently gave, like pretty much every time he had the ball, he gave it away. And I think that's what gave us a real problem, especially in the first 15, but even across the first half an hour. From there, I thought he grew into the game really well and stifled them really well. but he had what I felt was a very, very slow start, and the worst that I've seen him play throughout since he's been here. But only in that period. In the second half, I thought he picked it back up again. But I felt like, especially like I say, he looked well off the pace to start off with to me. But like I say, I'm quite regularly wrong about these things. So,
if you focus on it, then you were in a better position to sort of say, because like a lot of people just, me especially, I kind of like watch the game as a whole, and if I'm not focused on something, then it's going to pass me by sometimes. Like that, I can't remember much about the first 10 minutes, so you're probably all right. And that's kind of how I feel about the Stokes thing, where in the second half, especially, I was watching him, and even though the co-commentator kept saying how great he was playing and how well done he'd done, I felt like he probably made one pass out of 10. It was sort of, his level of sort of ball retention was really quite poor during this sort of 20-minute period, and that I focused on that and I thought, well, hang on, this isn't right, but nobody else seemed to notice it, so you do sort of question yourself. But I'm pretty sure if you look at the stats, his passing really wasn't on yesterday.
Paul, thoughts on Vincelot and Stokes?
I thought Vincelot had a good game. I think, maybe his passing wasn't the best, but I thought he was breaking. He seems to be one of those players who's just in the right place at the right time. You have people like Lampard who do that going forward. He just seems to have his positional sense is the best part of his game for me. So I think he breaks up, or he seems to be around where the loose ball is a lot, and that helps. Even if he's not retaining the ball as well, at least we're not under pressure because he's winning it back. Stokes, I think it's one of those funny things, isn't it? Everyone's praised the guy who was up against Stokes and then surprised that Stokes didn't have a particularly good game. It's, at the end of the day, that guy only created one goal, which was an own goal. He didn't, Stokes admirably went back for more. He didn't result to just kicking him in the air. It was a battle between him and the winger. The winger won. I'm not overly bothered because it doesn't happen every week. I love the fact he knocked it past someone, then ran the other side, because I love that sort of shit.
Yeah, that was top, wasn't it? That's a very good point, yeah.
As I said, I think...
You don't see that very often, do you? Have we got any other business? I wouldn't mind just having a quick 30 seconds talking about Reddy Johnson's performance. I would have had him as man of the match. And I know he's a lunatic, and I know that he keeps running out of position all the time. but I didn't now feel that when we got the ball down and kept it for a while, I feel like we forced Burton into going ever so slightly longer, especially at the tail end of the first half and at times in the second half. And I think it can almost be easy to miss how vital he is, because what he does is so simple, but he wins everything. There was just no stopping him on Sunday. He just battered everything out, and I thought it was a really, really strong performance. Only in the sense that he's capable of doing it when so few others are. If you think about the centre backs that we've had over the years, even just the League One centre backs, he's so domineering, and sometimes, like I say, overly domineering. But I thought he was remarkable. I think maybe it's fortunate that he didn't get caught out, because there was a few times where he charged up the field, but just so dominant at the back there. Thoughts?
I think the worst one for me was in the second half, where he did what you were sort of alluding to, what Burge might have done, where he sort of got caught in no man's land.
Was that when he ran past the halfway line to try and hit it? Yeah.
No, it was when he sort of ran forward 5 yards, thought about it, saw that the player he was going to challenge was already being challenged by someone else, and then just stood there and watched the ball sail over his head. And he was completely caught out, because if it had sort of been a bit further forward, he might have been able to challenge for the ball. Being further back, the ball would have just hit him in the face. He had just sort of run and then thought, shit, I don't want to be... Because I think it was about the 80th minute. It was like, shit, I don't want to be here. And I think someone else, like Stokes or someone, might have come around to cover him. But it was one of those... The only time where I really felt, oh my God, you're doing a Reader Johnson. But yeah, I think we all know that, his ratio last season when he played to when he wasn't was phenomenal. He's just... Yeah, he has his erratic moments. I saw some people say that Martin had a better game than Johnson. I was a bit concerned because, I thought Ricketts and Raider had formed quite a good partnership, and it was a bit of a shame that had to be broken up. But I thought Raider and Martin actually looked like quite a good partnership.
Yeah, and Ricketts very, very comfortable at right back, which I gather is where he's played most of his career, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can I just jump in on Reader? Do you remember when he ran up to support Murphy. Murphy took it for about 50 yards, and you look to your right, and the only person in the penalty area was Reeder Johnson, who decided to follow him. And that was my moment of the match, actually. I just realised. And it wasn't in the highlights. Oh, no.
There was also a moment where he, Cognac-esque, strode forward with the ball, and then he released it maybe 5 yards into their half, and I was literally screaming at the screen. I was just like, go on, go on, go on! Keep going, keep going! Even though it was palpably the wrong thing to do, there is something about Sol Campbell-esque centre-half just charging up the field with people bouncing off him. I mean, it's ridiculous, obviously. Yeah. It's not the worst thing to do in the world. It leaves you miles out of position and it never converts into a goal. But it is fun to watch, isn't it? Like that
I'd definitely do it if I was that big.
Yeah.
Constant.
Yeah. Okay, we wrapped up the that game then?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. We'll have a little musical sting and then we'll do some Only Covvect. Okay, Paul, you got questions for us?
Yeah, I have.
Neil, you can go first.
Thank
you.
Make
it easier, yeah.
All right, do you want question 1 or question 2?
I'll have 2, please, this week.
All right. Andorra.
Sorry, 4th in the sequence am I doing?
No, what links these 4 things?
Okay, next, please.
San Marino.
Something to do with being shit.
It is, yeah.
Okay. The teams with the least amount of points in this year's qualifying campaign?
Oh, it's close, but no.
Okay, let's have the next one.
Malta.
Scored the least goals in this qualifying campaign?
No, and Cyprus.
Lowest ranked teams in this year's qualifying campaign?
No.
Bollocks. Well, I'm out.
Joey?
Mine would have been 4th lowest ranked European ones. I'm going to go for, well, bear in mind that you said he was close last time. I guess this is wrong, but I'd go for the 4th smallest populations.
No, these are the only 4 teams who didn't win a game in qualifying for the 2012 Euros. There's been 6 teams who haven't won a game this time, hence the fact I went back to 2012.
Oh, nice.
Bit of research.
I haven't actually seen it, but Miffs had supposedly scored a blinder did he score 2 in a 2-2 draw the weekend?
He's got about 40 international goals or something ridiculous, hasn't he?
Has he really got as many as that?
It's a higher number. Some of the goals he scored at Cov were fantastic.
Oh yeah, he was cult hero.
He scored remember that goal against Plymouth on TV? That was like a bicycle, sort of semi-bicycle kick. And
yeah.
A wonder goal away at Stoke, which was like a half volley, and it's a shame that whatever reason he didn't quite kick on from that first season because.
Well, he got 12 at Christmas, hadn't he? And he was something like 3rd top scorer in the championship. And then he scored 1 goal for the rest of the season, didn't he? Which was on the last day of the season.
Was that because we changed manager, or was that after?
I can't remember. I don't think it was. I think that was still Dowie, was it?
Well, did he not have his? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because he had a falling out, didn't he, with his agent, and he went to Bristol City. And anyway, let's move on from the Mosquito.
He has indeed got 40 goals exactly for Malta in 111 games, which for Malta is a phenomenal record.
Very good.
There you go. Okay, David Speedie. So what links these 4 Coventry City players? David Speedie.
No, go on.
Brian Burrows.
No.
Dion Dublin.
No.
Gary McAllister.
No, no, pass it over.
Do them again. I don't know why. I just need to buy myself a bit of time.
David Speedie, Brian Burrows, Dion Dublin, Gary McAllister.
They've all won Division 1.
No, they are the last 4 Coventry City players to have been voted Player of the Year twice.
Oh, okay. I would have never have got that in a million years, I don't think.
Knowledge, I've got it now.
Although I think I ran through the Coventry City Players of the Year. In fact, I did about 2 weeks ago. So that's disappointing that didn't ring out. There's some fucking terrible ones in there, aren't there?
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for people like Gary McSheffy, who sort of won it twice, but they didn't.
Did he? I take it he won it the once, did he?
He won it the once. I mean, Gary McAllister won it twice, and neither time was he our best player. But there again, Mike Connick won it once, and he was never our best player. So, and Richard Shaw won it once. It's like arbitrary who wins our player of the year, as we all remember from the J Tab season.
Least shittest player, or indeed from last season. Apologies to Jim O'Brien.
Tallest dwarf.
Yeah, indeed.
Sometimes you've got to be the tallest dwarf.
Right, go on then.
All right. So, Joey, do you want question 1 or 2?
I'll have 2.
Oh, this is the hardest question I've ever asked.
Okay. Good luck.
Okay.
All right. James Barron, 5.
No.
Arthur Kinnard, 5.
No.
Charles Wallerton, 5.
No. No.
Oh.
Next. Guy, I think that's passing over to you, Neil, I think.
Can you go through them again, please?
James Barron, 5. Arthur Kinnard, 5. Charles Wollaston, 5. Who comes next?
Larry Borton, 6.
No, I'll give you a clue. It's 7.
Oh, nice one. That was the only thing that was missing.
It's Ashley Cole with 7. They're the highest number of FA Cup winning players.
Oh, this is ridiculous.
I told you that was the hardest question.
That is the hardest. I had in my mind it was a Coventry question. I don't know why.
I read it, I saw it, and thought that's both genius but also impossible.
I wonder how many. I'm gonna have a look. I might have a look at this now while you're doing the next one. I would have said Wes Brown would have been in there, whose trophy cabinet is terrifying.
Well, Wayne Rooney's never won the FA Cup at Man United.
Yeah, true.
So Wes Brown probably hasn't won it since about 2004.
I remember looking at it the other day and just thinking that it's astonishingly well populated.
Okay,
Final
Neil,
question.
what comes fourth in this sequence?
Okay.
Northampton Town,
Another one, please.
Kidderminster,
One more, please.
Huddersfield Town,
Ipswich.
Logic,
Biggest town clubs in the country.
no. Joey,
What were they?
Northampton Town, Kidderminster Harriers, Huddersfield Town.
Coventry City.
No,
No, go on.
it's Scout at Southampton.
Huh?
Aidy Boothroyd left. His first job post Coventry was Northampton Town. Andy Thorne, when he left, his first job post Coventry City was Kidderminster Harriers. Mark Robbins, obviously, first job post Coventry was Huddersfield Town. And Stephen Presley's first job post Coventry is Scout at Southampton.
Now, if you started at Scout at Southampton, I would have got it. But
That again.
tricky work that was.
Yeah, incredibly tricky.
That's a genius question.
It is, but these
I'm
are more
wasted
like fact of the day than questions that people could hope to answer.
I bet someone's got that one. The FA Cup one, not quite as sure. Don't know why, just not quite as sure. But yeah, I reckon that someone's got the got that one.
Well, feel free to write in if you have, at Neil Lamptey Show on Twitter or neillamteyshow@gmail.com. Although why you'd want to, I don't know.
Hey,
We've got some. We've got some. No, if you got them. Yeah, quite. Right, we'll do some Scunthorpe preview after this. Okay, Scunthorpe United on Saturday. Back to a Saturday 3:00 kickoff for the first time in a fortnight. Second away game in a row. But I guess that just sometimes happens, doesn't it? They are a bit crap. They have only got 5 points and they are in 19th in the league. One place above Peterborough, who... Did anyone see Peterborough get beat by Southend? I assume it finished 2-0, did it, in the end? I watched some of it.
They sacked their manager then, didn't they?
They did indeed, and for good reason. They were awful. But yeah, at the moment, just in case anybody hasn't seen it, Crewe are on bottom with 2 points. Colchester, Blackpool and Millwall make up the bottom four. Blackpool beat Scunthorpe last weekend away from home. I think it was their first away win in something like a year or something like that. So it's looking like it's pretty dire for Scunthorpe at the moment. Although curiously, they're going all the way back to April last year. Apparently they beat Gillingham, who were top of the league, but admittedly it was in a different season, so I don't know how pertinent that is as a piece of information to talk about there. They drew against Colchester and they drew against Millwall, who are two of the teams in the bottom four in some of their recent results, and lost to Blackpool. So you would think that they might be ripe for the take-in there. In terms of notable players, they've got Paddy Madden, who is a goal scorer. I think it's probably a name that most people would recognise, a player that a lot of people have wanted us to sign recently. They also have, it says here, Gary McSheffrey, who I think we are all aware is absolutely lethal. And they signed Stephen Dawson, who, as we're all aware, is one of the best midfielders at League One level last season. He's a harrying box-to-box player who adds character to the squad. Another independently conceived opinion about signing there as usual. Sure, but whatever. So that's Scunthorpe in a nutshell for you then. Let's have some predictions. Neil?
Feeling good about this, Joey. 3-0.
Oh, nice. Paul?
Yeah, I think we're going to hammer that final nail into I Bleed Sky Blue Blood, Mark Robbins' coffin, with a comfortable 3-0 victory as well.
And it's 3-0 to us, because I likewise will be going for 3-0. This is untold, unparalleled optimism, isn't it?
Do this, Flip. Come on.
I don't want to go back to the Burton game too much, but that didn't half feel significant. That win.
Yeah.
That's
unlike us.
There's still a lot of season to go, but if this was last season, we'd have had that start and then we'd have lost. We wouldn't have won for 7. That was
especially when the opportunity is there to jump up. The amount of times we push on, we win some good games, and then it's like, okay, win this next year, you're back in the playoffs, or you're back in a good position, and then we bugger it up. To actually win again, it takes you to second. I can't remember the last time we won a game to get us to second.
No, it's crazy. It felt, especially against them, who had been on such a phenomenal run.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've really felt very special. Yeah, I think 3-0, 3-0 all around. I'm sure we're going to be recording this next week with egg on our faces. But do you know what? Actually, I'm not. Do you know, I just can't see. The only other time that I remember being this confident was when we beat Barnsley 3-0. So it's got to be 3-0 again. Yeah. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, just enjoy it when it's like this.
Yeah.
It's nice.
God knows we deserve it. As much as any football fan can deserve anything that is ultimately a mixture of sort of fate and decision making. Okay, have we got any other business before we wrap up?
No, I'm good.
No, let's get out of this one. Okay, thank you very much, Paul.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
And thank you, listener, for listening. Bye.